2 Timothy chapter 2. Believe it or not, we're ready to move on to verse 23. I spent all last installment talking about the value, even the need, to connect in community. And then the idea of how do you pursue a pure heart? Well, verse 23 gives a slice of how you don't pursue a pure heart. Paul writes, "Don't have anything to do with foolish and stupid arguments because you know they produce quarrels." Well, I just spent, a few more minutes than I should have on Twitter. And there it is. There are foolish and stupid arguments, by the dozens. I mean, every scroll through. Now, let's try to be as fair-minded as we can. To me, I have to be very careful because I categorize foolish and stupid arguments if they don't agree with me. And that's not, I'm not going to say it's not right to be judgmental. That doesn't ever produce, I have never known it to produce anything good. To have judgment, that is essential. And see, we're not talking about judgmentalism here. We're talking about good judgment. What makes something foolish and stupid? I would say, first of all, let's start with the idea that if it's not founded in truth, then it fits in that bucket. Foolish, stupid. Now, even more specifically, Paul was a Jew. He had a one of the deepest educational backgrounds, having studied with Gamaliel, who was at that time the absolute leading rabbi among Jews. Part of his study would have been the wisdom literature of what we have as the Old Testament, but in his day it was just the Bible. And in that wisdom literature is the book of Psalms, as well as Proverbs and Ecclesiastes. Well, in Proverbs, you read about the fool. And in the context of Proverbs, the idea of the fool is not so much an uneducated and witless and stupid individual. It has to do with their moral understandings. And a fool has broken, inadequate, inaccurate, unrealistic moral values. It is, in many ways, it's as bad of a term that could be applied to any other, from one Jew to another, as, to be called a Gentile dog, that's bad too. And there, if you think back to the Sermon on the Mount where Jesus said, if you call a person a fool, Jesus made it clear that is way not a good thing. Well, what makes a person a fool is that they have bought, swallowed, ingested foolish ideas. And foolish ideas are, in my mind, you can reduce it in its simplest form to a foolish idea is one that doesn't conform to truth. And it's not just any old idea. The idea from the Old Testament carried over here. It has to do with morality. Now, that, in my mind, that's a big deal, okay? And then Paul connects stupid with foolish. I know I'm splitting hairs a little bit here, but to parse this idea, it's valid for us to think in terms of there are foolish ideas and which can be argued in a stupid way. See, I think foolish has to do with morality, and I think stupid has to do with logic. Again, I have to be very careful because my first tendency is to categorize foolish and stupid by whether those ideas are congruent with my ideas. But when I read and hear some ideas, and unfortunately, and this is just my opinion, so you can take it or leave it, which is true of everything I've done on Soap Care with Stevie Boy, but there are some of the arguments, I'm not going to use names, but there are some very, very high-profile individuals in our country who are making statements that, first of all, they are not supported by morality, certainly not biblical morality, in my opinion. And secondly, they don't rest on logic. I mean, some of the things I hear, I think, you never had a history course? You never studied actual meanings of actual words? I mean, that to me is stupid. First of all, don't be foolish and don't be stupid. That's awfully coarse, isn't it? But see, part of me struggles with this. Paul didn't say, don't have anything to do with foolish and stupid people. That would be impossible. Now, I'm trying to lay aside my preferences, but I think the world's populated by foolish and stupid people. I mean, they are here. They may not be in the majority, but they're here, and frankly, they get a lot of airtime. So, but he doesn't say, don't have anything to do with foolish and stupid people. He said, don't have anything to do with foolish and stupid arguments. Why? Because they only produce quarrels. Now, there's an interesting thin line sometimes between a quarrel and a debate. The point of debate is for two ideas to be presented along with, in the context of this verse, moral and logical reasoning. That's debate. And it appears to me that in America, many people are afraid of debate. They think debating is just mean, and that in a debate you just have to be mean. And you know what? Sometimes that happens. I might even say often that happens, but it doesn't have to. That's not the sum and substance of debate. The sum and substance of debate is let us explore to find the truth. Now, quarreling is all about, I'm going to fight for what I think is right against your stupid ideas. That's quarreling. Families are blown apart by it. Marriages are blown apart by it. And can I say nations can be blown apart by it? Paul writes, don't have anything to do with foolish and stupid arguments. because you know they produce quarrels. Debate might advance on certain grounds within certain rules. Paul would have been able to say, you know what? When I was in Athens and I stood on the Areopagus and I made an observation about all of the monuments to the various gods, and then I saw that one monument to the unknown God. He opened a debate when he said, I want to tell you about the God that is unknown to you. And in fact, what ensued was a debate, an exchange of ideas. And some people were convinced of Paul's perspective and they became followers. Others didn't need it. That's how debate is supposed to work. But quarrels, they won't advance. Quarreling does not advance God's design. Okay. Verse 24, and God's servant must not be quarrelsome, but must be kind to everyone, able to teach, not resentful. Now, we're going to take some time to unpack that, but the first part is, okay, don't have anything to do with foolish and stupid arguments because you know they result in arguments, quarrels. And then he says, I think what I've said has direct application there, but here's specifically why he said that. The Lord's servant must not be quarrelsome. Yikes. You know, I have, I can get really quarrelsome. I mean, I can get snide and snipey. And at one point in my life, I was pretty much a master's level smackdown, cold cut guy. Usually arguments will descend into that. Actually, if an argument goes on any length, it will descend into that. I don't want to be that way. I don't want that to be my nature because it's not really my nature, I don't think. And then again, if it were not my nature, it wouldn't be coming out of me. So I began to work on eliminating cold cuts, and I am not done. I am still very much in recovery from that lifestyle, that vocabulary, those habits. The Lord's servant must not be quarrelsome. See, okay, why? Because it won't achieve the objectives of service in Christ. The Lord's servant must not be quarrelsome, but must be kind to everyone. You mean even the people, and bear in mind, now we're going to get really specific with Timothy's role, his position in the church at Ephesus. I can somewhat relate to that, although I've never served a church in Asia Minor, so culturally maybe really not. But I remember when I was in, I only did it for 45 years, but for 45 years of working in a church as a minister, pastor, or whatever you want to call it, I do remember there were people who desired to be my adversary. They treated me as an adversary. They were constant and vocal critics. It was very difficult to be kind to them. It was easy to be kind to the people who liked me and who appreciated my efforts and my work and who loved my family. That was easy. But to be kind to those other people, that was really hard. Now, last idea. Paul doesn't say, think kind thoughts about them. He says, be kind. We're going to come back to that next time. Surprise, surprise. On Soul Care with Stevie Boy.